Hey, Reviews and Done. Who's giving you a dose this week?
What's going on, world? Once again, it's your boy Derek Dunn back with another A1 interview. Today, I have the pristine privilege of talking to Chris Bolan and Melissa Haizlip,
Haizlip.
Haizlip. Sorry
Yeah,
about that. The
no,
directors
it's
of
okay.
the directors of the documentary Satisfied, which highlights the career of Renee Ellis Goldsberry, who you all know as Skylar from Hamilton. So I'm looking forward to chopping up with them and getting their thoughts on this.
Nice to meet you, Derek.
Nice to meet you
Uh,
too.
Same as well. So Satisfied is such an intimate look at Renee's life. What initially drew you both to her story, and why do you feel it was important to tell now?
Yeah, I'll kick it off, Melissa, and then
Sure.
it was the Derek. I'll give you the short version. It was COVID summer 2020. Disney was about to release Hamilton on Disney Plus. They would have got a big fancy red carpet premiere, but because of COVID, it was just going right to the streamer. And I was introduced to Renee from a good friend of ours, Kelly O'Hara, who's also an executive producer on the film. And Renee was kind of lamenting the fact that she had all this archival footage and she was just going to put it all on Instagram, and she wished she had done something with it, like make a documentary, and she wished she knew a documentary filmmaker. And Kelly was like, well, my friend Chris is a documentary filmmaker. And so we started chatting. One thing led to another. I loved her. I thought she was so vulnerable and honest. I was introduced to Melissa, and loved what Melissa had done, and loved that she came from a theater background. And so we joined forces, and that's how it kind of took flight.
Do you want to inject something, Melissa?
Yeah, no, it just was. First of all, thanks so much for having us. And Renee Elise Goldsberry is a Renaissance woman, and was so excited to join this team. And because I'm also a theater person, a theater kid, I performed on Broadway as well, and now I'm producing on Broadway, producing Broadway shows. So just the idea of bringing together these all the loves of my life, theater, elevating women's stories. Hamilton, I'm a huge fan. And film documentary was like a dream come true. And also to be able to elevate her story, as a Black woman as well, putting her story in the front of her journey of motherhood and her trying to balance her career and also, have a family. That's kind of the theme of so many of our lives, and trying to figure out how to juggle and how to deal with all of these things. So I just thought it was a universal story and also a unique story. And, it's just incredible to be able to elevate her story specifically and to follow along and be part of this Hamilton universe, which is ironically celebrating the, 10th anniversary of Hamilton this year. So it's really exciting to have this film coming out now.
And shout out to Hamilton. I still
Yeah.
remember 2014 or 2015, whenever they performed at the it was the Grammys, and like it hadn't caught on just yet. But after they performed at the Grammys, like the next day, I mean, you couldn't get tickets for
Yeah.
Hamilton if you were, a million. I mean, they like were selling like hotcakes. I saw it at the Kennedy Center, but when I saw it, the original cast wasn't there. It was the understudy, but it's still something to experience actually on Broadway, and it's not a shot at the home market, but seeing it live versus seeing it, at home is two totally different experiences.
Derek, I had the chance to go see it at the Public Theater off Broadway. And I was editing another film, and I was like, I don't have time to go see this thing. I don't know what it is. And I was like, 10 years later, I'm still kicking myself. I was like, oh my God, I had a chance to see it with the original cast during the, like, right before it went to Broadway. So, but it's incredible. I went to see it took my kids to see it in the theaters just recently. It's amazing. Yeah, it's still amazing.
So separately, you've each built reputations for powerful human-centered storytelling. How does your individual directorial styles complement each other in shaping this documentary?
Hmm.
Uh,
Good question.
yeah. I mean, I love character-driven stories. I love people who go through the fire and come out the end on the other side, a better version of themselves. And I love people who are honest and vulnerable. And so Renee checked all those boxes for me. And it was a pleasure and an honor to be able to just have the opportunity to focus on one singular character and track her journey of not only her as Angelica Schuyler, but her as a mother, artist, and wife, juggling, trying to balance these two parts of her. So that's for me, that's what attracts me.
Yeah, and also, what's unique, and Chris and I both share this, is that the films that we've done before are very much driven by sort of an unknown character or an underdog or sort of a, fish out of water, and you get to see the incredible journey of that character. And that to me is so heartwarming. So I loved having a chance to show Renee, even though she had an incredible career and had done television shows, films and things, and she had this really remarkable, robust career. It wasn't until Hamilton that sort of showcased her in a way as playing Angelica Schuyler, in that just catapulted her career. So it was exciting to be a part of that rise and to show that journey within our film as well. And I think it's always important to find ways to elevate sort of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And by no means is Renee ordinary, but when you see her as a woman with her family, doing all the things, making the breakfast, dealing with children, everybody can relate to that. And so this film really sort of portrays her in all the facets of her life. But there's something so endearing and so warm and so approachable and so loving about her that so many people can really relate to that. And I think that's the beauty of documentaries as well, and something that we share in terms of our styles of kind of illuminating the truth and the inner beauty of people in our stories.
Yeah, that
So
kind
I
of
kind
perception versus reality, Derek.
of
You think you have the idea of somebody, and then you see the reality of, like, to Melissa's point, like, who, yeah, she's Angelica Schuyler. She's a successful celebrity, but she's also this mother,
Hmm.
right? So, yeah.
so I want to piggyback on what you guys just said. I'm a big fan of docs, especially when the subject is someone involved in music. And I think the thing the director should always try to do is you always want to try to humanize your
Mm.
subject and show that while they're, in the limelight, they're just like you and I. And I'm not gonna say any names, but I can say some of the best docs I've seen. Despite the controversy of the particular talent, it really humanized them and made them feel like, they're just like us. And there is a not necessarily condoning their behavior, but there's a reasoning behind everything that they've done. So with Renee, while there's no controversy, we all know that Hamilton was a juggernaut, cultural phenomenon. But how did you guys really find that cohesive balance to not necessarily focus on Hamilton, but more so focus on Renee's human side?
Well, that's always the trap, right? I think the trap can be to focus on the big shiny object and trying to, and I think if you've got the courage, and you get that courage by getting the backing and the support from people like Renee and your team, to give you the opportunity to go deeper. So if you can use it as like the scaffolding, the fancy thing is the kind of scaffolding, and then the heart of the story is everything that you build inside of that house. That's when I think it gets interesting, to your point, Derek, because I'm the same way. Like, I wish that Prince music, there was a Prince documentary that was supposed to come out,
Hmm.
and it's been sidelined for a number of reasons we don't have enough time on here to talk about. But I heard they did that. Like, they were telling his, like, the other version, underneath the Prince. And I'm with you. I love stories that do that. And Melissa, you had Mr. Soul with, I mean, so you can probably speak a lot about that.
Yeah, and with Mr. Soul about my Uncle Ellis Haizlip, this was the story of the first Black Tonight Show and how it elevated the culture, and not only um, in terms of bringing all of these incredible artists to the world, but also launching the careers of many of the African American icons of the 20th century. But more so than that, I'm always drawn to these stories, as I said, where you have an underdog or you have a journey that you can follow. And I think it's just so important to do that, and that this film really brings the humanity for everybody who's watching the story or a part of it, whether they're a Hamilton fan or not. And I love that about our film, and that it's so accessible. So yeah, I have a series on Netflix called Ladies First, and it's a story of women in hip hop. I'm always drawn to as you can see, elevating women and stories about music. And we tried to do the same thing in that, where finally centering women's contribution to hip hop, which is usually they're, a tertiary subject or involved in the controversy or second to the men in hip hop. But I think it's important to really to center the stories and the humanity and then build the world around that. And so, yeah, that's definitely something that has always inspired me.
So, beyond Renee's personal journey, what broader conversations about motherhood and for Chris, maybe even fatherhood, do you think Satisfied is going to spark when we think about resilience and representation for, dads and moms and just the finding that equal balance between, being a parent and being in the spotlight? Because now it seems like no matter what the subject is, the fans always want more. You want more. You want more. And social media, it's like now it has its ups and its downs where you don't want to see
Hmm.
everything, but you want to see more. And it's like you kind of understand now why a lot of celebrities don't really have social media because the fans always want much more. So piggybacking to my question, like what do you think Satisfied is going to spark maybe for other creatives in terms of the documentaries they want to tell?
For me, I just hope that, I think it's a universal story that we can all relate to in some capacity, whether you're a Hamilton fan or not. Some of the best comments that I've heard, some of the comments that have meant the most to me have been actually the people who are like, I actually don't like Hamilton. I don't know who those people are, but they are out there. But they're like, what really resonated me with was Renee's fertility journey. And I heard this from a guy, from a father. And I will be honest, I looked at him, and when he said that, I never expected this person to say those words. I think we all judge people unfairly a lot of the time, and this guy was just like, I went through a fertility journey with my wife, and to me that was so poignant, and that was the most amazing part of this. So, hopefully there's pieces of this that appeal to a large audience. And I know for me as a father, my son's mother was on Broadway for 10 years, um, 8 shows a week, and I was at home with our little baby, and it's tough, it's hard, and Alexis makes me look like, I mean, Alexis, I pale in comparison to Alexis, Renee's husband. He's just the support that Renee gets, and what a positive role model he is for people as a father figure, and a husband, and so that's, I guess that's how I can speak to it as a parent.
Yeah, and I think what really resonates with me in terms of this film is, this idea of redefining having it all. And I think people will really grasp that from this film. Here you have Renee at the pinnacle of her career. She's nurturing her family and she's building a strong foundation, but it the film and her experience brings up the age-old question, can a woman really have it all, or can anyone really have it all? Can they authentically balance career and motherhood? And I think that that is something we all struggle with, especially since COVID and sort of rebuilding ourselves from working at home to maybe working in a hybrid environment, whether it's theater or, finance or any number of the sectors of employment. We all struggle with the same things. How do we bring our authentic self to work? And then how do we share and uplift our own family at the same time? And is there a sacrifice that has to happen in order to achieve that balance? And so, this film really shows that and shows what it means for a woman, in this case, a Black woman, to struggle and thrive. And how do you balance those two things? One of my favorite lines is when Alexis, her husband, says, we're trying to create a home where everybody thrives. And that's just so it's like one of my favorite moments of the whole film because you realize, wow, that's what great relationships do, support each other. And it's really remarkable. I think people will come away from the film with a lot of different perspectives, but they'll definitely see the beauty of a relationship and the strong values of a relationship. And you don't usually get to see that kind of thing in film, especially in documentaries, and the importance of healthy Black relationships as well, so there's a lot that this film is giving, as I say.
Very cool. All right, so before I let you guys go, as I often do with my interviewees, I gotta give you guys a hard thinking cap type question. So my introduction to Renee was way back in 1999 in high school. I'm in my 40s now, but it was the film. I think it was All About Us with Teron Brooks. That's when I knew she could like really, really sing. So you guys have unlimited budget, and you have Renee as your leading lady. What's one biopic you would love to see her do, where you guys are doing everything? Renee is your star, and it's a musical biopic, unlimited budget, and you have the song rights and everything.
Oh man,
Wow.
Melissa,
Okay.
that is Derek. Damn you! That's a
That's
tough
not
one.
fair. Wait a minute. Unlimited budget?
Well, the song rights alone are going to kill the budget, so that's why I said you have everything you need to tell the story right.
God, she's
Mm.
got like the beauty of like a Whitney Houston. Like she's tall
Hmm.
and but a different vocal quality. She's got more of she comes from a jazz background. So I'm like, I don't know,
That's
man.
tough.
Like,
Because,
yeah.
uh,
So
that's
just
really
think,
tough. Yeah.
so
I
me
don't
thinking out,
know.
me just thinking out loud, maybe Angela Bofield. I could see her doing that for like a new generation,
Uh-huh.
or they've been trying to do it for years, but maybe even Florence Ballard.
Oh, that's a good
Oh
one.
wow.
Yeah, one of those two I think would be the
And
right angle to go.
what's another one that hasn't really been explored is Ella Fitzgerald, and she has such a, but that's it's different because the thing is Renee is a modern woman, and some of these greats from another time it's a little more of like an older feel. So I kind of would rather have her do somebody who's modern that she could fit into, but I'm not sure who that would be.
Uh,
I did a show at Lamont, whatever. I'm gonna shut up, Derek. She was a dancer. She went to Berlin and I'm blanking on her name. I did something in 2019 right before COVID and I'm blanking on her name, but so I'm just gonna shut up. I thought the name would come to me, Derek, and it's not.
all right. Well, I want to thank you for both taking the time out of your schedule to chop it up with me. And Satisfied is out, I believe, next week.
Yes.
September, it's just a 3-day limited theatrical, September 30th to October 2nd, Derek. So we're trying to get everybody out to see it if they can.
Yes. Tell all your friends.
All right. And one last thing, where can fans find you on social media? And is there a social media for Satisfied?
Yes, there's a social media on Instagram. It's at Satisfied Doc. And I'm at Melissa Haizlip with an underscore, and also Mr. Soul the movie on Instagram and Twitter, and also TikTok.
And there's, if you can just hashtag satisfied film, our distributor is at Aura Entertainment. And then I'm on Instagram at Chris.Bolan.
All right. Thank you both again. And I'll have my review up closer to the release date.
Amazing. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Derek.
Hey, what's up? This is Ludacris.
What's up, y'all? This is Nicki Minaj.
You're rocking with the best. It's Reviews and Done.